Hey, it's Jegant Drago here, and it's always nice to talk about when Arrowhead listens to the community. A little bit late, but I wanted to talk about the armor of reinforced equities, and that they increase and change the armor passives for one of their latest war bonds and added 2 more passives, and this struck a potential idea for a few other passives that could use a few more passives of their own. So we will take a look at the integrated explosives that seems to be a little bit lackluster, I'll be straight with it, and unflinching as well, that also seems to only have 1 passive and is a little bit lackluster. After looking at a few more passives, I realized even Gunslinger, I didn't really get to use it at all. But even looking at the passive, this is already 3 passives, and I'm not even that interested to use it. But let's take a look at what they did really great, which is that they started off with just the chance of avoiding grievous limb injury. So this is just a very much a worse version of a few other passives, like the armor that allows you to throw farther, like Servo Assistant, that gives you limb health, so you're already purely more tanky that way. And though it's not that great, but it's already better. This version is already better. And another armor, which is Democracy Protects, which is prevents all bleeding damage from the chest, which is not that great, but this version is already better. And so Arrowhead did a great job of adding increased melee damage. This is a great start for Arrowhead to be able to just mix and match different armor passives that they already added into the game and put it into different armors. In the previous video that I talked about of how could they do armor modules of mix and matching different passives, here some sort of middle ground is to mix and match current passives that they already have instead of being pressured to create new passives. One thing that I still have some issues with is the idea of being able to integrate the armor with the weapons within the war bond. So this war bond is very heavy on the melee design. We have a secondary weapon of the sword right here, and we have a stratagem which is the flag. And it's pretty good that they gave us 50%, but in all honesty, they should just give us 100% to give it a different feel from the peak physique. And one last thing that I wish Arrowhead could do with this armor, instead of increasing reload speed, was to give it attack speed, attack melee speed. I think that could have been a very much interesting passive to give to an armor, or maybe a future armor, seeing how they are giving out more melee weapons. And instead of having the increased melee damage, or with the melee damage, you also have increased melee attack speed. That could have been really useful and also really fun to see. This integrated explosive, I tried this armor and it was just so bad. I don't understand. The explosion is just so small. I'm just sort of gonna ask openly, like, who even uses this armor, and how could this armor be used more creatively? I had a nice back and forth with someone, and their personal idea that was combining with mine was the idea that this armor could take some inspiration from the engineer armor, which gives you more grenades. So the engineering kit gives you increased initial inventory of throwables by 2, so you get +2 grenades. And so for this one, it is +2 grenades as the secondary passive, and as the third passive, because you have 2 extra grenades, is that when you die, you would drop all of the grenades that you have on the ground, and it will just sort of explode on your death. So it sort of stays within the theme of this integrated explosive. Now personally, let's say if you already used up all your grenades, it should still be on the cool factor that once you die, you magically drop 6 more grenades. And so, plus the idea that you would explode after 1.5, so that explosion would push those 6 grenades outwards in a circular fashion, so it would be evenly distributed and then do the maximum AoE damage. A couple other previous idea before this one was, oh, let the explosion be bigger. Since you're already dying, you're wasting 1 reinforcement, such as a 500 kg bomb explosion or precision strike explosion. Almost wanted to say hell bomb, but that is a full stratagem already, so for an armor to give a hell bomb explosion might be a little bit too much, but I would still agree that just spitting out 500 kg from yourself is still a little bit too big. And the last smallest explosion that comes to mind would be the airburst explosion as well, which now starts to get a little bit too small. So it feels a little bit more interesting and useful as a wearer while you're still alive is to have at least +2 grenades, and then once you do die, you would get to drop all 6 grenades once you die in a circular fashion. Now if we want to talk about like being as useful as possible while alive and then just have this explosion on death, it could be +2 grenades and the increased throwing range by 30%. So this is mix and matching different armor passives together to create like a very useful combination that is unique for some of the passives. Now another one would be unflinching. Unflinching helps Helldivers unflinch, not flinch when they are hit. So it could be really useful. They did some buffs to it to make it work a little bit better, but the issue with this armor is that it's only useful once you are hit, and most of the time for Helldivers we don't want to get hit anyways. So one of the things that they could consider adding is fortified or extra padding. Now extra padding by itself gives you 200 armor, but there are a couple armors that gives you just a little bit more HP than the rest of them. So medium armor is 100, but then this one gives you an extra 29 armor for some reason, and sacrificing a little bit of movement speed. And then there's another light armor somewhere that has a similar idea. Yeah, like from 50 is 64. The main point here is that because you want to use this armor to be able to shoot at enemies and get hit to have the unflinching effect, it's most likely reasonable to expect this armor to also give you a little bit more HP as well. Now a different idea of mix and matching different passives is to also either give you further reduced recoil when crouching as well. So as you are unflinching, you also get better recoil control, or once again with peak physique, instead of melee damage, it is to give you improved weapons handling. So it's a combination of these few factors of you get better weapons handling or better recoil while also being unflinching. Or in my personal opinion, you get extra padding of 50 HP because you're gonna use this armor and get hit a couple more times compared to if you use a normal armor where you might be sort of playing in such a way that you don't want to get hit at all. But with this new change of Arrowhead adding passives to this armor, I hope they do take a look at a couple other armors that we talked about today and give it a little bit more useful passives from their already created roster. And if you have any other ideas of which passive you wish could have a little bit more useful passives or additional passives, feel free to comment down below. And until we meet again.